In today's video, I'm going to be taking you through setting up an email template in your Klaviyo account. If you don't know me, my name's Amy. I'm from Sync Savvy Digital and I'm located in Melbourne, Australia. I'm a Klaviyo specialist and I help e-commerce businesses set up and manage their Klaviyo accounts. I'm going to be setting up an email template for a company that I received an email from. It's one of their welcome flow emails and it's a really beautifully designed email, but I did notice that all of the content in the email was made up of images. So they haven't used any of the native text blocks or buttons in Klaviyo itself. This email has been created elsewhere, so whether that's Canva or Photoshop, and it's been then imported as all images into Klaviyo itself. So we don't want to make our emails too image heavy. That's how they end up in spam or get flagged as spam by an inbox provider. So we want to make sure that there's a good mix of image and text. We want to probably lean towards having more native text in Klaviyo than images. So I just thought this was a really good one to use as an example to show you how easy it is and also the best practices when it comes to setting up your email template. So I've gone through the website of this business. I've got the copy from the email. I've taken screenshots of the images and I've gotten the colors and fonts ready to go. So let's get started. So when we're on our Klaviyo dashboard, if we come down to content and click on templates, we want to create our email template in here so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time we want to set up a campaign or a new flow. We use the same base template for each of our emails. So you will have the Klaviyo branding on here until you upgrade to a paid plan. But the first thing that I like to do is make sure that I set up all of my styles properly. So in the styles tab up here, you can come down to your text and headings. You can change these in here first, which means that it will be preset as you're adding in your content. So for the body copy, we're going to have that as Figtree normal. Their font is quite big on their email, so I'm going to leave that. I'm going to change this to black and we'll center that one. The links, I have grabbed hex code for their colors in here, so I'll pop that. And I do like to use heading 3 for any of the headings used throughout the email as well. You just click the drop down, select heading 3. I've changed that one to the Figtree bold, and I might just make that 28, and we'll change the color here. You can change the spacing, so letter spacing and line spacing. I'll center align that one as well. So this one here is just the spacing between the bottom of the heading and the next line of text. So you can make that bigger or smaller. Sometimes I like to wait till I've got the copy in the email itself so I can change that. So if you want to change any of the other template background colors, content background, you can do that in here as well. So for this brand, the template background is just a light gray. So I'm just going to pick one in here. So I'm just going to leave that as a light gray. And then we're going to add in some content. So the first thing that this email has is this little header bar at the top here. So we're going to grab a text block and we're going to click and drag that over. I'm then going to change the block background color. And that is going to be that same pink. And then if we have a look again, so they've used white font and they've actually used a Courier New font in here. I'm going to add that one in the styles tab as well. So we'll come down and add another heading. So I'm going to select heading 4 and I'm going to change this one to Courier New. And we might make this 14. We'll see how that looks. We'll center that one and we'll make it black again. And let's change this. So we'll come back over to the text block here. We'll double click on the copy and we'll click on this little drop down here and change that to heading 4. So you can see now that the text is sitting a bit high up in the block. And let's see what it looked like before. So We might need to change the spacing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that copy and I'm going to put that straight in there. So I've just got a document with all the copy in it here. So we'll grab that and I'll paste that into this block. And we'll come back to this Styles tab and we'll edit it slightly. So if we go to heading 4 again, we're going to change this to white. And if we change this spacing underneath here, we'll just make that 0. Now it's sitting in the correct spot. So let's just have a look at that again. Sometimes it's just a matter of playing around with it a little bit just to make it fit the look that you're going for. So if we make it 16, I think that looks better. And then we can change the size of the block a little bit in here. So I think let's see what 15. Now we're going to go back to the content tab and we're going to add in some image blocks. So we just click and drag the image underneath. And this one will be logo. So Klaviyo will tell us to use what it thinks we should use. And as long as everything's still clear, you can use the compressed version if you like. So let's pop that in. Now, obviously, it's not that big in the template, so we can come down here and we can just have a play around with some different sizes and see what works. So maybe we'll make that 250. And then we'll add in some alt text. So we could just put in Melvory Australia logo, and then we'll put the link to the website in here as well. And then we'll come down to the block padding again, and we might just add in little bit of spacing around the image because you can see that there is this gap here. They've also added in ruled line underneath, so we can come back to the content and put in a divider. Now this will obviously, we only need probably 3 or 4. And then if we click here, you can see it's just popped that line in, and then we're going to add in another image block or our hero image. So if we upload the hero image here, you can see that they've included the button and the copy in the image. Now, if we wanted to change this and make it a text block, we can do that. So we'll click and drag a text block in here. And we're going to put in, well, family. So this font will be we won't change that. We're just going to change this one here to the Korean New. And we might make it bold. And maybe we could just make it a little bit bigger. 70. We will add in another text block here for this other copy. And let's type in Melvory family. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this one to heading 1. And then I'm going to come back into the styles tab and I'm going to change this heading 1 in here. So the font's not exactly the same, but you'll know what the font is that you're meant to be using for your own brand. So we'll leave that there like that for now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to change the color of this background to suit. So we'll just capture that color there. And then if we click on these text blocks and we scroll down to background color, and then we just pop that one in there. So pick those. And the same for this one. And then we can crop this image so we can get rid of this bit at the top here. And then just once you've cropped it, make sure that you click the back button so that it knows that you want to save it as is. So if we only want to add spacing above the copy, not at the bottom of the block as well, we just need to click on this padding square here. And then we want to add padding to the top. So let's say we go 40 for that. And then we can compare it to the original. So I'm happy with. And then we're going to come down to the button and we're going to do the same here for the buttons. This one, we come to content. We're going to grab our button, we'll click and drag. Size is pretty good. And we're going to just change the spacing to 1, maybe 2. Yeah, I think that looks all right. And I'm just going to grab the grey color as well. So this is a Chrome extension. If you ever need something like this, you can just look up. I think it's called Color Picker. So I'm just going to copy that. And then the style down here, we're going to change that to the grey. So now that grey matches. And you can see their button, they've just used a square button. And this one has curved edges. So that is this little section here, corner radius. So if we change that to 0, it will square that up. If you wanted your button the full width of the page, you can click full width and it will take up the whole space. But we're going to keep this one fit to text. We're going to center align it, and then we're going to change the padding around the copy. So I think this could probably go to 20. So that's the height, 90. So I think that looks pretty good. And then we would add in our link address in here to the website as well. Again, we'll change the background color of the button. So if we pick the color from the email and it's that F7. Again, click back into the button, come down to your background. I need to change that to the F7. Now you can see that perfectly, and we're going to crop this image again. We're going to crop that, and we can crop it as close to there as we like, and then you just scroll back up here and then press the back arrow, and that's what saves that crop setting. So now we've recreated the hero image, and we've used some native text, and we've used a native button. So we'll add in another text block. Double click into there and paste. And so that's how it's going to look initially. So we've got a bold heading. So we'll just put some spacing in here. We've got a bold heading here. Now it is a little bit more spaced out than the copy that we've got. We can go and add that in the Styles tab and get that fixed up. It looks like there's some spacing in between letters and there's spacing in between the lines as well. So let's go back to the Styles tab, come down to the body copy, and we're going to just add in this letter spacing. We're putting 1, and we might make this, I don't think 1.5 is quite enough. Let's change it to 2, see what that looks like. So I think that looks a bit better. Then we're going to adjust the spacing of the block itself. So we just need to watch for how this is going to look on mobile as well. So we can switch between desktop and mobile. So if I just click on mobile, you can see that the font settings or the styles are different between desktop and mobile. So you can see here, these styles up here, these fonts, you may want to change them. So what we could do is we can come to the Styles tab, and the way that you change your mobile font sizes and spacing is you come down to the bottom of the Styles tab and you've got mobile text and headings. So if we go to that heading 1 and change this to 30, it's going to shrink it down enough that it fits on one line, and that looks a little bit nicer. And the same here with this text block at the top. We need to change the size of that. So we go to styles, we scroll all the way down to heading 4, and we probably want that to be, we could make it the 12 or something like that, just to fit that in. We can also get rid of this spacing in here because we don't need to have that padding for a heading like that. We need to watch out when we change our padding that it doesn't shrink in the mobile version as well. When we look at the Styles tab of this particular text block, what I would suggest you turn on is full width on mobile, and then you can bring this in. So we might want to make it, let's say, 60. So that brings in that spacing on either side there. But it means when we go to mobile, it still takes up most of the space. If I turn off this full width on mobile, you'll see that it makes it very long and skinny. And for this particular text block, we don't. So our code here is slightly bigger, and this text here for the expiry is a little bit smaller. So what we can do is we could change this to being heading 3. And then we can change this maybe to heading 4 because that's that smaller size. And you can manually change the fonts and the sizes in here as well. And we'll make that black again, and we can reduce this one down to 12. Now, for this to be a dynamic coupon code, we do need to add in some code. So I'll just grab that code. So I'll paste that in here. So this is what it will look like when you pop in your code for your dynamic coupon. What you need to do is once you've set your coupon up in Klaviyo, you'll come back here, and this section here will be the name of whatever the coupon is, like whatever name you've given it. If you then preview the template, it will come up with whatever it is you call your coupon. And then we're going to add in this button here. So we can copy the button that we've already got. So you can just click on the little duplicate button here, and we'll click and we'll drag that down. We are going to change the style of this one to the pink, and the copy, so the button label or the text, to be black. So up here, we're going to change this to black. And again, you would just add in your link address in there, so your website URL. We're then going to add in another divider. So we'll just click and pop that in. I did just notice as well that we can remove the background block color here. So another text block. So we'll duplicate that, click and drag it down to the bottom where we want it to go. And then we're going to get our copy for that section. And then paste that one. So with the heading, again, it's just a bold. So we can make that bold. I think everything else looks pretty good. And then we're going to add in another image. So we'll select the image, upload image, and we'll pick that one here. And again, this one will need to be cropped. So we just make sure we're clicked into the image, and we're going to select crop, and we'll just click and drag this down to here. Nothing else that needs to be cropped. And we can just add in a little bit more spacing if we need to. So if we just click on that text block again, and we could increase this to 15. And it just adds that little bit of padding around there. Next, we have some more copy. Now with this copy here, how it's got the pink highlighting, there you can do it in Klaviyo. It won't look as nice as that, but I'll show you how you can do it if you want to. So let's just copy this block again, and we'll pop it underneath. Put this quote in here. And let's just have another look at that. So we're going to bring the padding in of this one, make it 140. And what we'll do is we'll highlight it like this, and then we can come up here to background color, and we can select that pink. So it will highlight it. I think maybe they've used a lighter pink, but that's okay. You get the idea. You can highlight it like that. And then there's words throughout the campaign where they've highlighted. So no hungry children. We can do the same up here. So no hungry children. And you can do the same throughout the rest of it. So we'll add in another text block down in here. We'll click and drag down where it needs to go. We'll add that copy in, and then we'll put the sign underneath. And it's bold. Just bold. Okay, so the next section is this heading here for follow us on Instagram, then the images. So we will add in a divider, and then what color have we got? So it's all black, so black. So we'll select black in there, and they go all the way to the edge. So we can get rid of the padding in here. So we can make that 10. And we want to duplicate that because we're adding in a text block in between. And this text block has the follow us on socials. So we'll drop that in there. And I think it is the Korea font. Yeah. So we'll highlight that and we'll change up here to be the Korea font, Korean New. And we can just adjust the sizing of the divider. If we separate that so we can change each side of the block as we need to. We're going to make the bottom of this one 0, and we're going to make the top of this one 0 and see if that looks better. And then we're going to add in an image block for those images of the Instagram feed. So this one here, upload. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add in 2 columns underneath this image for these 2 pieces of text here. So we scroll down to the content tab and grab the columns section, paste that in there, and we're going to select 2. So these are all the options. If you wanted to add columns, you can add in different widths and layouts. So we're going to select equal, and then you'll see now that you've got the 2 little blocks there. And we're going to add text boxes in here. So the free shipping, I'm going to paste that in there. And then I'm going to grab the other one about the donation, add that one in here. So we can duplicate this block, pop that in there. What we can do now is we can change this to heading 4 and then just change the font back to Fig Tree, but it will mean that it's smaller. Actually, I think we need to make it a little bit smaller, and we'll just increase the padding a little bit like that. And again, full width on mobile. So there is a little divider in here, which is a little bit more difficult to add because we can't add a border just in one section. So that is a little bit of an issue. If you really desperately need to have that in there, you could just use this as an image, but I don't think that's super necessary. And then we're just going to add in this button as well. So we can come back to content and we'll click and drag a button down the bottom here. So you'll see, because we've added those 2 columns, it now wants us to add the button into one of the columns. So what we can do is come here and click and drag another column in, and we'll just select one. And then we can add our button in. Now this button, we will say full width. We're going to change it to that gray color. And we're going to change the copy to what we've got here. Just going to make that a dash. And we're going to change it to Korea. Space it out a little bit, and we're going to get rid of this corner radius, and we're also going to get rid of the block padding. So we're going to make this 0, 0, and that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to come and crop this image. So we only want to keep the image itself. We don't want to keep any of the copy. So that's cropped it. So now if we preview this, And if we put this one up here, so yeah, I think the fonts look a little bit different, but I think it's still pretty good. We can fix up a little bit of this spacing here. Now, because I haven't set up my coupon, that's why that looks like it does. I think it looks quite good. And this email has a higher chance of ending up in an inbox because it's not so image heavy. We do need to make sure that the email has an unsubscribe button. But I would love to know what you think. How do you set up your email templates? Are you going to try and set up an email template using more native text blocks and buttons rather than just images? That's how you can set up your email template in Klaviyo and use it across all of your campaigns and flows. If you found the video helpful, subscribe to the channel or join me over in my free school community, and I'll see you in the next video.